Today I am testing out the Ping G730 irons. Ping are promising that these irons are going to see golfers getting maximum forgiveness and extra distance, so I was really excited to give these clubs a go. And before we get started, we know from looking at the analytics page that if you're watching this video, you're probably not subscribed to the Golf A Lot YouTube channel. So if you've ever enjoyed one of our videos or found them helpful, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel out a lot more than you might think, and just make sure that we can keep creating great content for you guys. So for those who don't remember the G710s, they had a black finish to them, whereas with the G730s, we're seeing an all silver finish. As you can see, there's quite a lot going on the back of the club here. Now, I don't dislike this design, but I don't necessarily love it. I think that Ping has some other irons that are a lot cleaner and simpler that I do prefer to this. However, when you've got a game improvement iron, there's only so much that you can do to make that club look sleek and clean. So with that in mind, I don't mind this design. It's not necessarily the type of iron that I would go for. With the game improvement iron, I think that Ping have done what they can to make this look smart and to make it look clean, but there is just a little bit more going on there than I would prefer to see in my irons. Obviously, with game improvement irons, we are expecting to see a little bit of a thicker top line. That was definitely evident in the shorter irons when stood at address. However, it looked a little bit thinner with the longer irons, but as we got to the 5-iron, you could really see the backing behind the club, which almost made it look a little bit more like a hybrid. So all in all, for game improvement irons, I didn't mind the look at address. I just wasn't a massive fan of when we got to those longer clubs and you could see the backing there. Hey guys, as a thank you for all the support you've been showing us across on the Golf A Lot channel, we are going to be doing prize giveaways every single month over on our Instagram channel. So if you're not already following us on there, you're going to want to make sure that you are to be in with a chance of winning some amazing prizes. Thank you guys again for all the support. Now let's get back to the video. Before we get into testing, we're going to talk through some of the technology to see what Ping has put into these irons to supposedly get that extra forgiveness and extra distance. So these irons have a larger face, which through an advanced heat treatment has been thinned out to ensure more face flexing and a lower center of gravity. So essentially what's happening there is the trampoline effect that the club face is going to help to propel the ball off further, and Ping are saying that golfers are going to see several yards extra distance across the set. And then obviously having that larger face is also going to help adding a bit of forgiveness and ensuring consistent ball speeds even with slightly misstruck shots. You can see even on the back of the club here, we've got the Perflex cavity badge, which essentially has multiple flex zones, which is meant to help control face bending while also ensuring a solid feel and sound for the golfer. As you'd expect, these irons have a pretty strong offset, and as normal with the Ping irons, we're seeing the Hydro Pearl Chrome 2.0 finish, which essentially is just meant to make these clubs easier to control even from wet conditions by providing consistent launch and spin rates. So as always, we tested these irons out both on the golf course at Stockport Golf Club, and we also took them indoors to Hooked to get the numbers from Foresight. So my first thoughts with these irons out on the golf course was that they were just really, really easy to hit. Now when we tested these out on the course, it was very cold, and I don't know about you guys, but when it gets cold for me, I start to lose a little bit of the feel with my irons. I can lose a bit of confidence there in getting that strike going, but that was not the case at all with these irons. There was definitely more forgiveness in these irons than I've seen in the majority of other iron sets that we've tested out. In terms of initial feel out on the golf course, as you'd maybe expect with this type of iron and that bigger backing, they were feeling a little bit clunkier than we would maybe see with the better player irons. I did also feel as though on some shots the ball was coming off the face very fast, which might have been the reason that we were not seeing much spin at all with these irons. We were definitely getting a lot of roll both on the fairway and on the greens, so not a huge amount of stopping power there. Out on the course, I was feeling as though it was really easy to get a nice draw shot going with these clubs. They definitely encourage that as the natural shot shape, which for me was great because that's what I like to play with my irons. I also felt as though we were getting some really strong distances with these irons. On one hole, I hit a few shots in to a green. We went in with the 5-iron and I thought there was no chance that I was ever going to be able to reach that green. However, I did comfortably and even had some shots going past. And that 5-iron was really, really easy to hit straight from the fairway. So I was really impressed with that. And so obviously I was very excited to take these clubs indoors and see what kind of distances we were getting away from the cold weather. So starting off with the 9-iron, I wasn't seeing huge amounts of distances here, getting an average carry of 123 yards. However, going on to some of the longer clubs, as soon as we hit the 7-iron, I was seeing massive distance increases compared to what I would be used to with my own irons. So the 7-iron was going an average carry of 154 yards, which is closer to what I would expect to see from the total with my own 7-iron. The 5-iron was going an average carry of 171 yards, rolling out to a total of 186. So for me, that is pretty massive in terms of a 5-iron and getting those types of distances. As we said earlier, out on the course, we weren't seeing much spin at all. And the foresight data did tell us that the spin rates were a little bit lower than what you would tend to see with a set of irons. If we look at the 7-iron, for example, we're getting 4,421 spin on average, which is just a lot lower than you would normally expect to see, which could be one of the reasons for the lack of control and stopping power out on the golf course. Something else that I noticed from the data is that very consistently throughout each iron, we were seeing a right to left side spin, which was backing up that nice draw shape that we saw out on the golf course. And something that I was really impressed by with these irons was the consistency in terms of those distances. And a prime example of this was that with the 9-iron, every single shot that I hit had a carry distance of 130. Like every single one, you could call it. Right before I hit the shot, we knew it was going 130 yards. There was no deviation at all from that. So obviously the distances that we were getting from these irons was pretty strong. The only thing that I would say that they fell down on in terms of distance was the gapping between irons. So say if we look at the 5 and the 7, the gapping there was pretty good at 17 yards between the averages. I'd maybe look to see about 10 yards per iron. So 17 is close to that 20 gap that we would be expecting. However, between the 7 and the 9-iron, there was a 31-yard gap. And obviously having a gap that big could cause you a lot of problems out on the golf course. So coming on to a verdict for these irons, starting off in the looks category. As I said earlier, these are a little bit chunkier than I would look to have in my own irons, and it can be difficult to get a game improvement iron looking nice and sleek. However, I do think that Ping have done a good job in making it look clean and making it look smart. However, there is just a little bit more going on, especially in the back of the cavity here, than I would like to see in my irons. I don't dislike the look of these irons, but it isn't necessarily what I would be looking for in my own set. In terms of feel, I think that because the ball was coming off so fast and you did get a little bit of clunkiness behind it, it wasn't my favourite in terms of the feel behind the ball. However, that was definitely made up for in how forgiving and how easy these clubs were to hit out on the golf course. So going on to performance, like we said, these irons were really strong in how forgiving they were, and we were also seeing some impressive distances, especially on the longer end of the set. They were extremely consistent overall. They did just fall down slightly in terms of the gapping and how much spin we were able to get from them. Finally, coming on to value for money. Now these clubs are priced with an RRP of £180 per club for a steel shaft or £190 for graphite. So if you were looking at getting a full set of steel shafted clubs, that is going to set you back £1,260. Now obviously that is a lot of money. We definitely see Ping going for that high price point with their irons, and these are no exception. I will say that they did exactly what Ping had said they'd set out to do in terms of being very forgiving and giving golfers that extra distance. So if you're looking for that in your irons and you're willing to spend that much money and invest into a set of clubs, these would definitely be a good set to try out. However, it is just a lot of money to spend on golf clubs. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down in the comments if you are considering testing these irons out. And as always, if you want to know more on my thoughts about them, you can check out my full written review over on the Golf A Lot website. Thank you guys for watching and subscribe for more.